Hello and welcome to Fishstick's Fixtures, the show where I take garbage and turn it into cool stuff. I'm your host Fishstick and welcome to my home. I live here. If you listen to iDunnoRadio, you know all about that. But we're gonna make some trash gadgets, and there's a couple reasons I wanted to start this video series. One is that we want to build some cool stuff, obviously. But the other reason is that we throw away so much stuff. And especially with electronics, it's usually one little thing that goes wrong and the whole thing ends up in a landfill. And that sucks. So for the first episode of Fishstick's Fixtures, we are going to be dissecting and repurposing one of the most wasteful items you have in your home. A Keurig. So I'm not a huge fan of these for a couple reasons. Number one, it looks like a weird alien mouth on the inside. Makes me uncomfortable. Number two, brews kind of crappy coffee. Number three, the K-cups. What a wasteful way to make coffee. Literally the worst invention. Even the guy who made the Keurig said that was a bad move. So we're gonna tear this one to absolute bits and we're gonna reuse its parts for something really cool. So what are we gonna make? All right, so here's the build. Right now, we've got an evil garbage coffee machine, and inside of that evil garbage coffee machine, a water pump, which looks nothing like this picture, but it's still a pump for water. In the near future, we're gonna be doing a live stream for the Scavengers Network, and I'm gonna have a little robot that we're gonna build today that every time we get a new Patreon subscriber, sprays me in the face with water. Because that's gonna be great. And the way we do this is fairly simple. We're gonna take the water pump out of the Keurig, and that's gonna be controlled by a relay. And the relay is going to switch on and off based on what this Raspberry Pi says to do. Now the Raspberry Pi is going to be watching Gmail for emails coming in from Patreon saying, you've got a new patron. The Raspberry Pi then says, dope, time to spray Fishstick. The Raspberry Pi punches the relay, the engine kicks on, shoots water at my face, I go, oh God, and that's it. Should be really easy. And we're going to build it all out of garbage or whatever I have lying around, except the Raspberry Pi. Let's fuck up a Keurig. So, if we're gonna get at the goods of this thing, we're gonna need to take it apart. And for that, we're gonna need a hammer and safety. Look, a water pump. Okay, no, but seriously, that took forever. And I filmed myself tearing the whole thing apart, but then I realized that that's super boring and would make the video too long. But I do want to show you a couple really cool quick clips from it. Anyway, there were actually a bunch of really cool things inside the Keurig that I wasn't expecting. I was expecting this one. This is the internal reservoir from the Keurig. And it's actually kind of crazy, like steampunk looking, sort of. So it's going into the bin of bobs, which is the bin where I keep my bobs. There's the controller board, into the bob bin. Transformer, bob bin. There was also several water pumps. There's a really, really tiny one right here, bob bin. There's a little air pump, bob bin. A flow directing thing where you can switch which hose goes to which hose, which is pretty cool. Next to the bob bin for now. Lucky horseshoe. If that falls, it's gonna hurt really bad. Of course, a ton of plastic. Actually, what I thought was cool is all the pieces of plastic are marked with their number so that I can properly recycle the ones I don't use. Probably gonna use this top piece because I think it's cool looking. It'll make a nice shield. Bob bin. We're fine. And of course, the main prize, the thing we went digging in there for, the big water pump, which is huge, but it also runs on wall power. But that's fine, I think. So we've got a little flask of water. By the way, don't do this. Does this look even remotely safe to you? Because it shouldn't. This is literally a plug that goes into the wall and has bare wire sticking off of it. Don't do this. So let's do it. Fire in the hole! That'll definitely hit my face from not super far away, so that's good. So I think the first thing I'm gonna do, now that we know that it works at least, and we're gonna use it, I'm gonna take this plastic bottle that somebody threw at me the other day, and I'm gonna turn this into the reservoir. Not the most aesthetically pleasing, but... Okay, so I accidentally used an adhesive that takes between 18 and 20 years to dry, so now that's just gonna have to stink up the workshop. In the meantime, we can get started on the switch and how that whole thing's gonna work. Fortunately, I have a mysterious benefactor who has been providing me with some wonderful garbage that he's been intercepting. And by the way, this is the Bob box. Actually, you know what? Bobs. And in it is this board. And I think my favorite thing about it, though, is what it says right here on the front. And obviously this has a light for when you're in trouble and a light for when you're in power trouble. So this is a relay. Basically, it lets you use electricity to flip a switch. Here's where I'm concerned. It says right on it, it's good for up to 5 amps at 240 volts AC. I have no fucking idea what the water pump is. I mean, I could probably Google it, but when I tried to Google this motor before, I had a hard time because the label's gone. So I'm just gonna put a fuse between them and hope that's good. I'm Mr. Blurry Man. Oh, man. God damn. It's nerd time. So now that we can actually see the thing, I want to geek out about it because I think it's super cool. So when I put power on, you can see how it moves. And if you're thinking it sounds like a blinker, that's because these are in your car. If you're from Massachusetts, you've probably never heard this sound. Electricity makes this coil into a magnet. The magnet pulls this top piece, which is shaped like an L. So the bottom of that pushes this little plastic T over, and that T is moving a middle plate between two outer plates. When it's over here, these two pins at the bottom are connected because electricity goes up through this pin, through this plate, and across to there. And when you do that way, electricity goes up through this plate and across to that one. The power over here doesn't actually get transferred, and it's kind of like a Rube Goldberg machine, and I just think that's so cool. So here's the setup. We've got the motor. The hot lead coming in from the wall has a 4 amp fuse before it hits the relay. The relay is going to be actuated by this switch connected to my bench power supply. Try it out. Look at that! It's gonna work, is what that means. It's gonna work! It's gonna work! Of course, the hardest part, I think, is going to be that I'm not going to be triggering it with my finger on a switch. I'm going to have to program a Raspberry Pi to do that. And I don't know anything about coding. I know everything about coding. Okay, so that's not even remotely true. What I ended up doing was I stole somebody's code that they made for a Gmail notification light, and then things got complicated because it didn't work. So then I rewrote the entire code by stealing bits of someone else's code and then looking up all sorts of other things. And basically, I really didn't want to have to do this, but I learned how to write code in Python. A little bit. So now the program's working, but get this. The relay actually needs 24 volts to turn on and off, and the Pi puts out 3. So I had to build this circuit to make it work. And I'll just hold it up here so that the nerds can pause it and take a look at it. But basically, the Raspberry Pi is now controlling an optocoupler. That optocoupler is turning on a transistor, and that transistor drives the relay. And this thing is gonna take 3 fucking plugs in the plug thing. It works, I guess, but it literally is the switch turns on a switch, which turns on a switch, which turns on the switch to turn on the pump. Cool! And guess what else happened off screen? The adhesive that I used is garbage. Yeet! So I had to rebuild the whole reservoir. But it's a good thing that I had, so I used this pail, and it's actually gonna be way cooler, so that's not too bad. But do you know what this means? I'm done. So here's what's up. We got the top of the Keurig thing. I know I said I was gonna paint it, fuck that. Plus I like that it still says Keurig. Underneath that, you got the water pump, which is bolted to the top of the bucket. This is where the power goes in, and I just completely sealed it up with heat shrink and hot glue, so that'll be fine. So this crazy ass circuit here is on the inside of this box, and it doesn't take up any space at all, and it actually looks like crap on the inside. It looks like this. That white shit is liquid electrical tape. Never use it, it sucks balls. This has a plug that goes into the wall to power the relay, and a tiny little plug here that the Pi plugs into. And then the other end is where the plug for the water pump is. And I thought the perfect person to test this with would be Colin Parker, the head of the Scavengers Network. So we're just gonna go ahead and give Colin a quick call. Hey, Colin?
Hey, Fishstick, I'm not sure if that's your ear, but this is a video call.
Oh,
hey,
cool.
Was that your nose? What's going on?
Yeah, no, it's pretty big, I've heard. So for the live stream that we're gonna do, I built a robot that's gonna spray me in the face.
Okay.
All I need is you to send an email, make the subject line the word pork zirconia, all one word.
Pork zirconia?
Yeah, I needed something that I knew wasn't gonna come in as spam so it didn't accidentally go off before it was time.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense. All right, I'll do that right now.
This is really pointing at my face, huh? It'll just kind of do it when it gets the email. I just heard you send it. Oh, God! God, it's way too long! Okay, 3 seconds is way too many seconds. I should have put the goggles on. It works. It's gonna work.
It's gonna work.
All right, thanks, Colin.
Hey, thanks for having me. Glad I could do this.
Yeah, me too. Me too, definitely. Super glad. All right, bye.
And don't forget, you can't take this to HR.
So we're done, and it works. It sprays me in the face. It actually looks kind of cool. I don't have a name for it. Clara. It's called Clara. And we're gonna put it into service for the next live stream. I can't wait. If you enjoyed this first episode of Fishstick's Fixtures, make sure you keep your eyes out. I plan on doing a video a month. Next month's project is going to be musical, and we're going to be collaborating with another content creator. From the Scavengers Network, so that'll be cool. Baba Ganoush!
The Scavengers Network.
Creator-driven,
Community focused.
Treasured content.